Gondwana Records podcast.
Welcome back to another episode of Gondwana Records podcast. My name is Myra and I'm sitting down with Matthew Halsall, a trumpeter, producer and composer who is redefining spiritual jazz for the next generation. In our very first episode,
my parents really loved music. We used to do a lot of car journeys on holidays, and we had in the car this suitcase full of cassettes of albums.
Matthew shared from his childhood memories to his life-changing moments.
I realised that Pharoah Sanders also played on Alice Coltrane's Jenny and Satchidananda album, which completely changed my life.
In this episode, we focus on his vision as the founder of Gondwana Records. And we have a Q&A session at the end of the show, so please stay tuned. Now the label is 15 years old, and has your vision as a label boss or label founder, owner changed?
I still really enjoy putting out records by local artists. I think that's important because I think the north of England is quite a hard place to develop a career. It's got better, but there's not as many opportunities unless you go to London. But then I think that London can really suffocate you financially, creatively, because it's sink or swim sort of, and you have to earn money, so you end up doing loads of gigs you don't want to do. But I think there's incredible musicians in all parts of the world. But yeah, my heart is still very much like working with local artists. So recently, Jasmine, Myra, and some incredible rising young artists that I will reveal very soon to the record label. There's two more bands from Leeds and Manchester. And but I also love working with international artists, like Han Urani is incredible, and Physonics from LA, Dwight Tribble from LA. It's been great. Both things, I think it's just about feeling connections through music and celebrating them.
Gondwana Records podcast.
You run a label and you're a band leader and you make your own music and you're very busy. What is your normal day like? How do you use your 24 hours?
That has been a constant evolving and shifting thing. I'm definitely a person that can only deal with one thing. I'm all in or not at all, like with everything I do. So if it's working with an artist and recording their album for the 3 days I'm recording with them, it's complete and utter dedication to that. But then I have to find the time to also do my really important stuff for myself, my self-care, my trumpet practice and exercise and things like that. So it tends to be at its busiest, I'll do practice really early in the morning and after I've finished everything else in the evening. And the same with composing. They're the 2 times I compose the most. And the middle of the day is very much a mixture of A&R, record label meetings, and touring, things like that. Lots of time in the studio, of course, with both my band and all the artists. I really like recording and producing. Even for my own music, I just enjoy that kind of creative process of how you can capture sounds and personalities and all sorts of things through the recording studio process.
Where is your happy place outside of music?
It's basically in Anglesey in North Wales. I've been thinking a lot about moving there. My girlfriend and my dog and me, and I'm sure my cat, when he eventually gets to go, will feel the same. It's one of the most beautiful parts of the world. I've travelled a lot, luckily, through music, but the place that I feel the most calm, the most inspired and happy is basically Anglesey. So apart from when I'm making music in the studio, obviously, and when I'm making music, I'm always thinking of that feeling.
What do you enjoy the most about music? Composing or performing live or being in the studio for other musicians or digging? Which part of music makes you happy?
It's really nice to spend a lot of time in the studio with musicians and to record and hear ideas develop, but it's also really nice to then be able to celebrate those recordings and travel the world with those musicians and play in front of audiences that really enjoy what we've made. That is a special thing. Sharing is really important, and I think when you make the type of music I make, and the feedback I've had is really been that it's helped people have a better feeling about life, like a kind of well-being and healing sort of thing, because music, when I'm making it, is often a therapy and a kind of a process of calm, escapism and things. I try to be in a really beautiful, happy state when I'm making music, and dream up beautiful sounds and environments. So naturally, when I meet people at concerts, they feel in a very happy place, because the thing that's made me happy has then been shared with them and made them happy. So I think all of them are important. I don't think there's one thing that I would say outweighs the other. I don't know why you would maybe make music and not want to share it in a way. If it feels special to you and it has a healing quality, I think it needs to, people need that in their lives. Like I need beautiful things that other people have created.
What is your vision in 15 years' time? It's been 15 years with the label. What do you see in 15 years' time? Or what do you want to see?
A really good question. I guess that it would be nice to find lots more amazing musicians to support and to watch them grow, as well as really work hard at my own career. I still feel every time I make a record that it's a huge learning process, and that I feel better equipped to make the next record every time I go through that journey. So I make lots more records, and maybe I will live in Anglesey eventually. That's a nice dream. I'd like to build a house, beautiful architectural house with really nice light and with good sustainable energy system, solar and kind of heat storage and water storage and all of that. My mum is obsessed with things like grand designs and stuff, and it's been in my childhood, so I think it's always been there watching things like that. But with the record label, I hope we can grow and even not just about signing new artists, but watch the artists that we've got on the roster who I care about a lot, watch them develop and have a more stable career. It's really important that they can continue to be artists, but also feel comfortable to break out of and make records that are brave and dangerous and whatever they want to do. And I think that comes from development and security financially, and so all of those things really matter to me.
Gondwana Records podcast.
And I have a lovely questions from your fans. So now it's the time for Q&A. There's so many questions, but I picked few. Okay, the question from Ian. Gondwana artists seem to have a similar vibe to their music. What signs or feelings do you look for in yourself when listening to other artists from the position of label head?
Well, I guess I'm in a rather lucky position that I've been through the process as an artist, and I know how the journey begins and how it evolves and what artists need, because I found it very difficult at the beginning. And I think that you look for kindred spirits always. I'm not looking to make big hit pop records. I'm looking to create a nice community and happy place for people to come and discover music that I love, but also that other artists on the record label love, because I think you all need to respect and enjoy being part of a bigger thing. And it always, the saying greater than the sum of its parts is, without the artist it's not a record label, without the team behind that it's not a record label. So it's not just me sat here every day, there's a lot of people involved that do really good jobs. But from an artist perspective, I have to feel moved emotionally, or like energized, or it's like DJ, when you're buying records, listen to records, within 10 to 30 seconds I know whether I like a record or an artist or not. Literally, because the intention is there from the beginning. Because I've been buying records since I was 13, 14, and I've been listening to records from my family and parents' friends' collections since I was, God, I can't even remember, just so young. I've always known that needle drop feeling of whether I like it or not. And I think that is the most important thing, that immediate reaction and connection. And I've been talking a lot actually recently about the difference between a musician and an artist. And the more I think about this, I actually think that a musician that is an artist, if you like, is quite similar to a painter or impressionist artist. They should be able to create a whole world and an atmosphere and have a freedom to be able to take you to a place, a special place. And I think good artists have that in every sense. So they can musically, you can feel incredible waves of emotion and go on a journey with an artist musically. By the same token, their photos and their videos really show a complete creative human being. And also when they perform live, how they express themselves, the emotion on stage, and all of those things. The best artists I've ever worked with have that, and that's, when I see that and it's an artist that hasn't been recognised, it's the most incredible feeling in the world, when you know there's an opportunity to help someone that has all these special talent and traits, which I believe that pretty much all the artists on the record label have.
Amazing. Next question is from Jason. What risk do you remember taking at the beginning of the label?
Well, the £1,000 that hard-earned money I made at Ticketmaster, I took a gamble. And obviously things like distribution, you have to trust people to distribute the music, the PR companies. And I think they're the things. You can't ever think of running a record label as, I want to earn this amount of money every year and I want to have this car and this house. If you start thinking like that, it's a soulless shell of a record label. So I've never ever been interested in making money in that sense. I'm really happy if it comes as a byproduct of genuine talent and love and appreciation of each other's skills. You have to stand by artists even through the tough times as well, and continue to keep the faith and belief in what they're doing. Because some artists, it's not immediate. Like the debut might lose money or break even, but by album 3, I'm still determined and want to invest hard on them as an artist, and that's a lot of financial risk for the record label, but I care about the records and the music so much that I'm prepared to lose tens of thousands to support these artists. So that's the risk.
There's a question from Stan about one of your tunes. A Song for Charlie is one of my favorite compositions. Immediately makes me want to trust it. Tell me about the creation of the Song for Charlie.
Yeah, that's an old tune. It's on the On The Go album. And at this period, I was obsessed with this idea of Paris in the sort of 60s, 50s, 60s, when all the American jazz artists went. And I was watching films like Dexter Gordon in Round Midnight and things like that. Lift to the Scaffold by Miles Davis was obviously hugely important, and a lot of the Jean-Luc Godard films of that era, black and white. So I had in my head this vision, which often is the case when I'm making albums. I pick a place and a feeling and a vision, and I imagined being a musician in 1960 Paris. And that whole album is like inspired by Art Blakey being there, Miles Davis being there, Dexter Gordon, Chet Baker. And with that particular track, I remember studying a piano book that had all the beautiful voicings of famous piano players from this era in particular. And I found some chords and voicings of chords from Duke Ellington that was so beautiful. Like when I put my hands on the piano and played, there's sort of 6 to 7 notes. It made me feel immediately a deep emotion and a kind of feeling that even now it makes me immediately think of a deep feeling of sort of not necessarily sadness but emotion. When I played it with the band, I was right on the edge emotionally, and it was beautiful to be in that place through music. But it reminded me of how I felt when my granddad, my dad's dad, who was called Charlie, who was the nicest, kindest person I've ever met in my entire journey so far. It reminded me of how I felt when he passed away, like a deep sort of emotional sorrow, I guess. So yeah, that tune I felt was appropriately dedicated to the feelings I had and the love I had for my granddad, Charlie. I also have a cat called Charlie, which, funny enough, a lot of people think that song's about that, or they think it's about Charlie Parker or someone, but I'm happy for it to be about all of those people and creatures, but it's much more for my granddad.
The Stan who loves Song for Charlie is waiting for you in America.
Yeah, we need to go and play in America. I've only done one gig in Rochester Jazz Festival quite a long time ago now, so I hope we will see you in America.
The last question from Bryony. Which artist or track do you listen to when you want to feel inspired?
It's a really good question, and probably changes every time I make music. I have playlists on different streaming platforms that I listen to in the car, and being a DJ, I'm quite geeky about putting things into folders and different playlists. So I have I don't know, even in the jazz thing, I think I have about 16 different folders of different types of jazz. Things like West African and kind of African disco music and electronic music. And so I guess it depends on this new album. I definitely listen to a lot of West African music because I was playing kalimba. A lot of percussive things because I absolutely love percussion. Over the last 5 years I've become more and more influenced by percussionists and the kind of textures and the kind of sound world that they create. So I listen to a lot of music with kind of percussive elements and very primitive and simple, beautiful instruments like kalimbas and mbiras and marimbas and xylophones and glockenspiels. I like things like that. But I guess Cinematic Orchestra's Everyday album I always go back to, and Alice Coltrane's Journey in Satchidananda I go back to quite a lot of Miles Davis records. So there's ones that keep pulling me back in, even though they're like between 20 and I don't know, I'm 60 years old. So they obviously have a special place.
Thank you so much, Matthew. It's been lovely hearing all your amazing stories about you and the music and art and culture.
No worries, pleasure.
Gondwana Records podcast.
Coming up in episode 3 and 4, we are going to deep dive into Matthew Halsall's latest album, An Ever-Changing View. He's going to demonstrate some of his custom-made instruments and share his experience in making of this beautiful album. Thank you for listening and see you on the other side.